Hello, welcome everyone to our Cafecito Cultural. Hello everyone and welcome to our Culture and Diversity conversational panel of this professional learning community group. I'm Rosabel, founder of this wonderful group of professionals that work together to bring culture and value diversity to our classes. Today, in our Cafecito Cultural, we are pleased to have with us Dr. Rachel Mamiya Hernandez and Dr. Kelly Barros Santos. Welcome. We today in this Cafecito Cultural is going to be about Afro-Brazilian women and Afro-descendant Quilombola communities in Brazil. Let me introduce our guests. We have Rachel Mamiya Hernandez. Is an assistant professor of Portuguese, Spanish, and Latin American and Iberian studies at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Some of her interests include language acquisition and teaching, project-based learning, social justice, online intercultural exchange, gamification, and instructional design. She currently serves as the president of the American Association of Spanish and Portuguese, AATSP. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Obrigada, Rosa.
Thank you for being here. And Dr. Kelly Barros Santos is an adjunct professor of English at Universidade Federal do Rancovo, UFRB. She develops research in the field of applied linguistics based on the following themes: education for social justice, democratization of English teaching and learning as a lingua franca, ILF, in places located on the margins like shelters, hospitals, quilombola communities, and favelas. Language encounter hegemonic cultures. Member of the Brazilian Association of Black Research, ABPN, and participant of the Black Researchers of Language Studies Network, HAPINSI. Thank you so much, Rachel and Kelly, for being here today.
Thank you. It's a privilege. It's also a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Now, I would like to start with, if any one of you can please tell me a little bit about Brazil, Brazil races and racist policies, race and language, and race and culture.
I hope I can speak about it without being, actually, I hope to talk about it and being objective in a certain way, because this is such a complex subject in Brazil. And sometimes it comes with this feeling of being invisible. What am I saying? It's because I'm going to start about the racial policies in Brazil and in relation to the university. For example, we also have our racial quotas in Brazil. Actually, there are 4 policies, specific policies for university entrances. We have the racial quota, the vulnerability quota, the indigenous and quilombola quota, and then people who are disabled. I don't know if I can say that, then we have these 4 kinds of policies. But then Brazilian people, usually people in general and the politicians, they are always attacking the racial quota. They say, oh, how come we could have social quota instead of having racial quota? And it says a lot about our country. It is a way of making the racism discussion invisible. Like, oh, come on, we're not those racist people. So why do we have this racial quota? Because we are equal. So in Brazil, we usually discuss about the myth of racial democracy, because it is a myth. We're not equal. We do not have the same opportunities. So this is something really. Okay, you can say.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add, and just to clarify a little bit, what Dr. Barros Santos is talking about is really a type of affirmative action that has been trying, or that Brazil has been trying to adopt for the past 20 years or so. And I know actually most of our audience here in the Zoom today probably knows a great deal about the history of Brazil, but just a quick refresher for those of you who do not know much about Brazil and are just tuning in. Brazil, of course, before the arrival of the Portuguese in the 1500s, was a very diverse place inhabited by many different groups of indigenous people with an incredible amount of linguistic and cultural diversity. In the 1500s, of course, you see the arrival of the Portuguese and the Spanish in some parts of South America, but the Portuguese in what we know as the territory of Brazil today. And of course, this is putting a long history in a nutshell, but we see that the Portuguese bring large numbers of enslaved Africans to Brazil to work first the sugar plantations and later in mining and eventually coffee for profit, obviously. And I think as Americans, as people in the United States, it's important to understand Brazil because I often feel like Brazil is almost a mirror for the United States, or we are a mirror of each other in that we are very large, diverse countries that are doing or working to sort of come to grips with very violent and in some case racist histories. So I think understanding Brazil and understanding the context of Brazil is important for understanding ourselves as well. So I just wanted to add that in, sorry.
Thank you. It is so essential, so necessary, mainly because you have been here in Brazil, so you can talk about the context because you have already been here and we have been working together for a long time, and sure, your voice is really necessary at this moment. And as I was telling in relation to the policies, somehow it impacts in the absence of Black people at the academic context, in the academic context. So we are the majority in Brazil, but we are not the majority at the universities. So the racial quota somehow come to make this, then Rachel help me, reparação histórica, can I say that in English?
Yeah, this kind of historic reparations.
Okay, thank you. So this is a way of going through this process of reparation. But we are still struggling against the politicians who believe that the racial quota is not necessary. Then what is the relation between the racial quota and the, I've mentioned race and language, where English comes in this discussion? It is that if I didn't have any opportunity to access English learning, because in Brazil it is pretty expensive, so the upper class can afford it, and if I could not learn English, so I cannot be at the university because it is part of the entrance process. It is in the exam to get into the university. So everything is related to, like I'm a Black girl and I could study English because I had this scholarship. So I am part of the policy, the racial quota policy. So what I'm saying is that everything is related to race and being an academic, race and learning English. Learning English for mobility, because at the moment I can access this knowledge, I will be able to be in the process of the university entrance. And everything in Brazil, I don't know, probably you already know that, many things when it comes to the academic position is related to if you speak English or not. Because all the exams we go through, we have the knowledge, the specific knowledge exam, like, history. If I want to teach history at university, okay, I'm gonna be tested in relation to that, but English is gonna be a problem for me because in the past, I didn't have the chance to learn English because I was this Black girl from the public school, so everything is related and connected to.
Right, and just to add a little tiny bit in there to kind of contextualize for those who are not as familiar with Brazil, like Kelly mentioned, Brazil is a country with a Black majority population, but it is also a country where there is deep systemic racism to this day. So, you know, although you have a majority population of African descent, you still see the government positions largely filled by people of European descent. And, you know, so there is still a great deal of systemic racism in terms of access to education and things like that. So I just wanted to clarify that too for people who are not as familiar with Brazil.
Yeah, and I love all of this information that you guys are providing and sharing with us today, because when you talk about Brazil, when you hear the word Brazil, the country, the first thing that comes to everybody's minds is the carnival, the good times, the this and that. But today we're talking about the reality, the little voices they are trying to silence, right? And that we are there, and there is some problems in some communities in Brazil, as is in Latin America as well, and all because of the color of the skin, right? So at any time, any of the audience that would like to participate, please feel free to ask questions to the panelists as well. And this is a very interesting subject that we're going to be talking today. Like I say, it is sad to hear that we are living in this moment, and we're not talking about history right now. We're talking about this moment, and that you have a problem in a community that for the English, I mean, the race and the policies and stuff, amazing. It's like what we're doing now, or what is the plan that you have in your community for this to start change? Or is any change right now? What you can tell us about exactly what's going on with these policies and the problems in the university?
Yeah, and before that, I would like to say something. We are still the carnival people, and we are almost dying because we cannot celebrate it because of the pandemic. And then we are, you know, mainly because I live in Bahia, we are the ones who really love carnival. And for us, it's a kind of sacrifice in not being able to go on the streets and just celebrate it. But even though, as you have said, we have this reality, and it is related to our Black community. And you know, I have to say, Rosa, that I'm kind of proud of us, of the public universities. First, because we have been developing lots of projects designed for the Black community. So this is one thing. And we also have some NGOs that we call educational quilombolas. This is like some institutions design their courses just to make Black students take part in the university process entrance. You know, like, example, I have this school and I accept Black students or students from the favelas, and my teachers are going to prepare them to face the university entrance exams. That it's something really hard in Brazil, because many times it is something related to the privilege of the upper class. So we have these kind of institutions here in Bahia. So I'm going to give an example very quick. Rachel and I, we are part of the project in the Quilombola community. And later on, I'm going to show you a piece of it. But I'm going to mention about Instituto Steve Biko. And so there is this institute, and this place have about 300 Black students in the school, and we have been teaching them how to get into the university. I mean, how to deal with the exam. However, they also have this course in July that teaches them how to survive in the university. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're gonna be there This is great. We're pretty happy because you got it. You passed. But over there, you're gonna face racism. You're gonna have to be strong to deal with your professors because the majority are white. And we know what happens at university. I mean, I don't know about the reality in the United States, but in Brazil, it's kind of difficult. Mainly if you have passed it through the quota policy. Some professors, they say, oh, come on, you're not that intelligent, smart student because you are here because of the quotas. So Instituto Steve Biko teaches the students to say, come on, this is not like that. I'm here because, you know, to be strong and really deal with those kinds of things. So I'm
Right.
gonna show you. Okay,
Oh,
Rachel.
I just
please
wanted to
talk,
add,
because
this is kind of a
I'll take
place
this
where
time to show the class a little bit of it. Okay. So
where
go on.
higher education in the United States and higher education in Brazil kind of diverge. The public universities are the most prestigious in Brazil, where I know that is not always the case in the United States. Here in the United States, in spite of all our many problems, and I don't want to act like we don't have problems with race and systemic racism in the United States, because we do. We have a long history of what we call HBCUs, which were institutions of higher, which were and are institutions of higher education specifically for Black students, and they are open to all students now, but you know, historically retain large populations of Black students, and you know, really became a place for higher education and for the Black intellectual elite. Brazil, unfortunately, didn't have that as part of their history. And so it's really only in the past, I would say 20 or 30 years, that we're kind of seeing a move with places like Instituto Cívico, even universities like Universidade Federal do Recôncavo da Bahia, where Professora Kelly works. They are kind of the closer sort of cousins of what an HBCU is, or the starts of an HBCU like institutions in Brazil.
Okay, and I have Renato. Renato, would you like to share with us what you have in here about the universities in Brazil?
Yeah, I'm from Minas, and Minas is one of the, I would say, the 3 states that has the largest population of Afro-descent people. You know, Bahia, Minas, and Rio. And I attended a public university back then when you could attend a public high school, when public high schools were really good. I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. And in Minas, at Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais, there were already some kind of community work that they would do to offer classes also for students. Back then, there was no, people wouldn't make this kind of differentiation to a specific parts of the society. They would just say, like, if you can't afford it, we're going to teach you these classes. And that was back then, I'm talking about 30 years ago. It was, for me, and looking back now, it was a great step that in Minas. And what I think it's great that Kelly brought is, like, getting into the university is one step. Staying and surviving and, you know, striving and graduating and going to the job market, these are some other further steps that also bring some challenges. That's
Yes,
my contribution.
yes, Renata, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
exactly that. You have just said our reality here, and that's exactly that.
And yeah, and then as the students get prepared to graduate high school, there is also should be a kind of like, I always have thinking that, okay, they graduate high school, but then when they go to college, then what? They are not going to find the help or the support that they used to have in high school. Therefore, we have to prepare them very well, or it should be a system that help them through also the first years of college until they almost ending it, make sure that this minority ended up having the degree and not dropping out of college, probably like the first year or so. So it is amazing that they have programs, and they should have more programs, and not just everywhere. It should be everywhere, including here in the United States, because we are not too far away from the reality as well as here. Yeah. Any other comment?
You know, when you say that we are not too far away from the context, it is something really amazing, because we were taught to think that USA is kind of perfect. Even though for Black people, you know, we were taught that like, this is the perfect world. Being an American is something really awesome and amazing. And then a friend of mine came to be part of the project, the one I've mentioned that Rachel and I are in it. Her name is Jamila Lescott. She came from New York University, and she told me and taught many things about being Black in USA. In every moment, she used to say, "I'm very sorry to break your heart, but this is like that." I said, "Oh."
Hollywood caused so much damage, you know, portraying like.
Yes, and I said, "Come on, please don't tell me that." But she said, "I'm very sorry, but it's like that." I'm gonna, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, thank you. This is gonna be very fast. This is just to mention about the relation between race and language, and the importance of these places that Renata has just mentioned. Our kids from the public school in Brazil, they have been told forever and ever that they can't speak English because they are in a public school. Because in a public school, English teaching is something horrible. This is not something really, it doesn't have the good quality that private schools have. So they are taught like that. But we also believe that kids believe in that because the books do not say anything about them, because the books were designed for white people learn English. So they still keep saying, "Oh, come on, English is not for me. I come from the favela. I barely speak Portuguese." This is the thing that we listen to from our students, but we also we have this for, you know, lifetime. I believe that since Renat was a student, probably it was said in the public school, English is not for you, because if you want to learn English, you should go to a course or to the private school. But we believe that the main problem is also related to this non-representative class. So due to that, we have prepared classes that could dialogue with Blackness. So we have decided to design classes with Black people image to teach them English. So this was to celebrate the International Day of Woman in Brazil. So we picked up this singer in Brazil. Elza Soares is something great. She's a powerful woman, and she has suffered prejudice and racism a lot throughout her life. And her body and her history is much alike, I would say, it's very similar to our students' mother's life. So why not bring her to the English class? So we related her experience to, then we also made this intercultural dialogue. Like first we talked about hip hop and the violence. Then we had this discussion, is the problem with the song, with the women? What, you know, you see, we were teaching reading techniques. So we had this class, and then we brought them hip hop reality because the students do like it. And if you can realize, if you really pay attention, we are talking about Black girls and violence. This is their reality in Brazil. It's really sad, but this is how it comes. and teenagers really love the word bitch. Then we were making this connection. I'm gonna make it fast. And then we talked about, is it related to the hip hop song? Because Elvis was also abusive. So probably it's not the music, but it is related to the way people are. And then it comes also Suarez history. You see, then we teach, I taught them present perfect and her history, because it's really relevant. Our students know about their history, but it isn't, in the past, in English books, we didn't have it because it was always Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And it doesn't talk to our student reality, you know. This is a question from the exam for university entrance. So everything was connected. Okay, we were talking about the, but I'm gonna stop it here. This was about, it was about English, but it was also about a Black woman. It was about a powerful history. So students could see themselves in the English class. So it's really relevant for them. And then it's a way of saying, come on, you are able to learn. And this is a right, you have to learn it if you want to be in this place of academia and some other places. So this, because you have asked me, what are you doing to help them? This is just a piece of some actions that we are developing to make them believe themselves, mainly related to English learning.
And well, I have a question. You mentioned that in the schools, they told you can not learn English for kids for the favela. What is favela for the people who is not familiar with the language?
Yeah, so favelas are the low-income communities in many parts of Brazil. So sometimes they're in the middle of a city, like in Rio, in the mountains and hillsides. Those are traditionally what we would call favelas. But sometimes there's other words that can be used to describe them in Portuguese. I know if you go to cities like São Paulo or even Salvador, a lot of times it's called periferia and not necessarily favela. And even nowadays in Brazil, a lot of people are using the term comunidade, which is like community, which kind of, I think, has a more positive connotation than favela. But favela are the low-income communities, and they tend to be largely Afro-Brazilian, but there is also disparities between some favelas. Some favelas have running water, electricity, services of a city, and then others are very sparse in terms of the kinds of services they have. They might not have electricity, they might not have running water. So even the word favela can mean a lot of different things.
Okay, thank you for explaining us that.
Yes.
So,
You know, Rosa, oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Rachel said something really important, and people started using the word community because it brings this positive feeling. But nowadays, at the moment, you know what happened, Rachel? We are coming back to the favela usage word. You know why? Because this is a large discussion, but it makes sense somehow. Some Black researchers, they called attention to the fact that if I call community, it can be any regular community. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And if I say favela, then it comes to my mind that the people that are living in this place, the lack of policies, the lack of everything, education and some other. So some say, no, let's keep the community. And some others say, no, we must say, yes, I am from the favela. And this is the body of a favelado. Know what I mean? So this is a political attitude when I say, no, this is not a community. We have lots of community all around the world, but a favela comes from Brazil, So nowadays there is this large discussion of saying, oh, come on. So we have this T-shirt, favela proud.
Huh?
This
Good.
is a very, so, but let's see what's going to happen.
Wow.
But we are, but I have just learned something with Rachel, because I used to say Islams in English, and she has just taught me that, come on, this is something old from the 80s.
Oh, yeah, no, I just said that slums is not like a word we tend to use so much in modern English, but it is often what you see as the
Modern
translation
English,
of
so
favela. It's kind of, yeah, it's hard
Renato.
to find an
great. But
exact word in
want
English.
I want to be a cool and modern girl, so I'm not going to use Islams any longer.
Renato, you say that we have also funk music?
Yeah, funk music, and in Salvador and Rio, specifically, and São Paulo also, they have been bringing the o termo favela as a way to empower, as an affirmative way to say, yes, we are from favela and it's okay. This is us. This is part of our identity. It's not the opposite, just denying or substituting or an euphemism like, oh, it's a community. It's a way to bring it in and embrace it.
Kevin, what you say, Kevin?
This is totally true. And Kevin has mentioned something about the funk music that people usually say, come on, we are powerful. We have this strong music. We sell a lot. We have this marketing here. And there is another thing in Brazil that I don't know if you have already heard. We use ghetto, ghetto
Mm-hmm.
in a very positive way. Like, come on, Rachel, I come from the ghetto, so don't mess up
Right.
with me. Like,
Yeah,
we
I
use
mean,
it
kind
now.
of this discussion too has a lot of parallels. Like I said, I feel like in some senses Brazil is a mirror for the United States, or we are almost mirrors of each other. That I see similarities if you look at hip hop in the 80s and 90s, and the appropriation of the term ghetto, and as it not necessarily being like a slur, but as embracing of the characteristics of a place that you're from. So I think, yes. And just to clarify for the people who are watching this, who don't know much about Brazil, when we talk about funk music, we're not talking about the George Clinton American funk, although that's awesome. We're actually talking about a style of music that comes from the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, which has influences of a type of music from the United States called Miami bass, and then hip hop, and then its own characteristics too. So when we talk about funk, that's the kind of funk we're talking about.
Here
Oh,
we
thank
go.
you. Thank
Here we
you.
go. So
We
so
have
now
Ghetto Square here.
we got what you say?
We have the Ghetto Square in Bahia. This is a place where you play capoeira. And this is a place
Okay.
where you dance a lot. This is a place where you eat the best food ever. So it has this positive connotation. If you come here to Bahia, I can take you over there.
One of these days. And that's the place where they got the swing, the really flavor of the race, right? Those are the places that we would love to go. So now favela is when you come from the low income. And my question is, then that's where Quilombola community is also from. What are Quilombola communities, and what it would be the role of the Quilombola woman in their community?
Rachel can speak a little bit about it.
Okay, so just really briefly, Quilombola communities are communities connected to the history of enslaved peoples in Brazil. So they were often started by groups of runaway enslaved peoples. And I want to also point out that this is not unique to Brazil, that if you look at places throughout the Americas where slavery happened, you're going to see resistance. And I think it's often kind of portrayed in black and white, in passivity and aggression, but really there were forms of resistance against slavery throughout the Americas. So if you look, in Brazil, it's the Quilombola communities. In Mexico, it's the Palenques. If you look in the Caribbean, there's the Maroon communities. And even in the United States, there were lots of communities of, freed Black people that went to different places to try to escape slavery and form their own community. So an unfortunate parallel, not that it's exactly parallel, but if we look at what's going on in the Ukraine right now, I think you see how much people want to fight for their freedom and resist forces that are imposed against them. So I really want us to also think about sort of a connection in that we see with these Quilombola communities is this resistance and in this wanting to have self-determination and freedom. So I just wanted to point that out.
Awesome, thank you. And Kelly, so tell me a little bit about your work in the Quilombola communities then.
Yes, this is my work over there, and Rachel is also part of this project that I'm going to talk about, and it is registered at the university as a kind of extension project. So it was designed to not to support them, because this is a kind of colonial thought, because they can say, come on, I don't need you. You came here just to talk. But this is a way of exchange knowledge. We go over there to learn with them. And if I have something that I can teach them, that I can share with them. So we have this kind of exchange process. And this is the Quilombola. We have been working for about 4 years, I would say. And the name of the project is, Rachel, you have already named it in English, please, to be much more close to the language.
I think you could say, like, in their own words, Quilombola women.
Yeah, this is the first, at the first moment, I think we have picked up this as a literal topic and translation, but I want to highlight the fact that at the moment we went to the community and we talked to their leadership, she said, listen up, I have the word. I know how to speak by myself. I don't need you to teach me. This is something that I have to set up, and it has to be clear for you. You come here, we're gonna talk, but remember, keep it with you. I have the word. There is no need to the university come here to teach. And I have always took it with me forever and ever. And it was really essential to respect them, So then I'm gonna show you some of the actions. This is Anna. She's a professor at my university. She's the third member of this. So this is Anna. She's a psychologist. And there is this place where the women get together to talk about their needs. This is Mara. She's the leadership. And there are 5 communities in this territory. And she's the only one, the only woman to be a leadership, because the other 4 ones, they are men, and she has been facing many problems because of that. There is this tradition of having the male leadership. So Mara came and she just broke this kind of tradition. So she has been facing many problems because of that. And this is the community. So I brought the picture because it's going to help us to have this idea of a Quilombola community, because usually they are rural, you know what I mean? This is not a cosmopolitan place or something. So this is the place where we develop our project. And I brought this concept of a Quilombola community, but Rachel has already explained it perfectly. And I would like to say that this is the inhabitants that live there. Usually they are groups of family, because they are over there in this place for about 50 years. So, but they are the same family. Usually they're the same family that live in the same territory. Specifically talking about Engenho da Ponte, the population of this community is made of 12 families, and the income source, it comes from the fishing. And when I say fishing, I'm saying that women play this role of being responsible for the income source. Because Rosa, you have asked me about the women role in this place. So they have this powerful, huge responsibility of helping to pay all the expenses in the house. Oh, men really work hard, but they have the huge responsibility of raising the kids and also facing this hard working of fishing, because this is not something really easy, I would say. It's really hard. And religion, it's nice to talk about this topic. It used to be the candomblé religion because it's a Black religion. But nowadays, the Catholicism and evangelical churches are all over around the Quilombola community. And it has been a problem somehow, because unfortunately, sometimes people that come to the Quilombola community, they say, you know, candomblé is not something good for you. And it is so related to the ancestrality of those people. So we have these clashes of opinions in the place when it comes to the topic religion. And
The women play an important role in the community. They are the provider of their.
yes,
And what do these men do in the community? What's the role of the men in the community?
oh, the men, usually they work in the plantation.
Station. Okay.
Yeah, but it's something season. It is related to the season. Sometimes they can have the I mean, they have the production of the plantation, but it is related to the rain, to the, you know, to the weather. So they do not work the whole year. I'd say that. But fishing is something that they have to do it because they live by the sea, and so they, I would say that they have to work hard in the income providing process. But usually the men work in the plantation. This is one of the action that we have designed for this group. How can I explain it without being stereotyping a Quilombola community? When it comes to a Quilombola community, as I have told you before, there are groups of family, and usually they come from the same big family. Example, suppose I am married to Renato, but Renato is Rachel's cousin, and Rachel is Rosa's sister. You know what I mean? So when those women have any kind of domestic abuse or violence, it's difficult to talk to someone because everybody comes from the same family. So what we have decided to invite this policewoman here, because she has been working with domestic violence prevention in Bahia, and she has been doing a great job. So she came to the community and talked to them to speak about their needs here, because she has a project in Bahia that prevents domestic violence against women. And she is a very important person for the law that really punish men who are very violent with their partners. And, you know, we have this problem in Brazil, but we also have the law. And it was a law that was created to protect women who are suffering any kind of violence, or to protect women from being murdered or something like that. So this woman here, she is the one who is responsible to the project in Brazil. And fortunately, she comes from Bahia. And I want to highlight something. And she is also a Black woman. So this is something really relevant. When I bring a Black woman to talk to another Black woman, they say, come on, I can do it because she's powerful, so I can be the same. We are always trying to make this dialogue of making them feel comfortable and making them see themselves in places that they are powerful. I don't know if I could be clear because this is a topic that I really like, but what I want to say is I could invite a man, a police officer, but it wouldn't be the same because it's going to be the same. The authority is male, you know what I mean? It's going to be the same voice. They would not be impacted as they were when they heard this person, this policewoman, and she's Black, as I have told. This is another action we have this developed with them. They took this workshop uh, because we wanted them to make register of themselves, of their body, of their place, of their house, of their family, to make them feel proud, to make them see any kind of beauty. And I'll hurry up. There is this project with storytelling to teach them some English, but not to, I'm not talking about, oh, come on, they're going to be fluent speakers. This is a kind of saying, listen up, there is this other language and people are going to tell you that you are not able to, but you are. So it's a kind of making the movement to break this idea of they cannot speak another language, English, Spanish, whatever. So we also have this project with them. And my students from university, and this is another point that I would like to highlight. My students from the university, part of the project, they are Quilombola students. So it's a way of making them to come back to their place and say, come on, I am a student at the university. You can also be a student at the university. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, give them a hope for the future.
Yes, exactly that. I know that we had this pandemic and then it was not possible to go to the community any longer. So we decided to keep the classes online. It has been difficult as far as you can see. You can see 3 kids in the same place. It's because they do not have any mobile phone or something to help them to have the classes. So kids are put together in the same room or in the same house, then they can have the classes. And we are working hard to keep in contact with them and not lose the track of learning something. And I'll come here to say something that we believe that it's kind of relevant. Classes are based on Black history. So we bring them images of people that could survive racism. We are not there just complaining and say, oh, we are suffering a lot. No, they have already know that because the white books have already told them, oh, your people came here, they were enslaved and so and so. No, we want to show them that we are also strong. We used to be queens. We used to be people who could fight against everything and we survived. We want this kind of powerful narratives to make them believe themselves. And based on that, Rachel invited me to create this book about Black history. And I would like her share the link of the book in the chat. It's something really
Okay, give me
beautiful,
one
and
second. We will.
you can check it because of our relationship. I mean, Hawaii University and Bahia University, we had this partnership, and our students create this material mainly because we want this classes and actions. We want to think beyond the colonial thought. We do not want to have these colonial classes any longer, because it was this way of teaching that made our students be quite far from the English classes, I would say. And all students that are part of my classes, they are supposed to be in the project. Usually they are, mainly because they are Black students. Some of them are from the Quilombola communities. So they should be part of the project, because they're gonna be in their community saying, come on, you can, yeah, I can teach you because I know you. And students, the little ones, can see themselves in this place. And just to finish, I would like to show you something very
Want to show us. I just want to thank you so much for this amazing work that you both are doing. The example that you are giving to the small kids, like I saw in the picture, and teach them by now that they are important, that they have to be proud of who they are, to learn a second language. The importance of learn the second language in this time will be English for the community, the Quilombola communities. And the woman, I am amazing of the importance that the role model that a woman are in the Quilombola communities. But it's also a good time for the new generations to come and learn and know that they do have a future, and know what like you say, the books, the other books are trying to teach them, like you just can't get up to here, and there is no limit for them. We are there. We are very intelligent Black women that we have done so much in this world, and our ancestors as well, to take us all the way here, for them to try to silence us and say, no, you just can't be here. And then the story that is behind is something that it cannot be just covered. So I'm so happy that we have this today, just a few days before the International Women's Day, to celebrate the community and to talk about them.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I am so glad that I came on today, because I wasn't almost because of other things that I'm doing, but I love this topic. I've been to Brazil. I loved it. I spent like a month within a week. I went on a volunteer trip to Salvador, and I loved it. And I spent a month's worth of experiences within 1 week. I am currently studying Portuguese. I do speak Spanish through Duolingo, but I'm learning words, and I actually could pick up some of the things that Renato was saying. And my daughter, who I'm trying to get on here, is actually going to go to Brazil at the end of this month. She works for an international private school that has a campus in Sao Paulo. And Rachel, I know her father. Her late father, Larry Mamiya, was a professor at Vassar College, which is my alma mater, and also my daughter's alma mater. And, Professor Mamiya was a beloved professor. So to meet his daughter, oh my goodness, this is awesome. So again,
Yeah.
I am blessed. I am so
well, thank you
blessed
so
to be
much.
here.
And I pale in comparison to his work, but while he focused on the Black experience in the
Yes.
United States, my work has definitely been a lot more in Latin America and Brazil. But it's awesome to meet you and that you're here.
And
continue.
I would like to say that Rachel is one of the best human beings I've met, in my life. She's so serial. So probably because of her dad, as you have just mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing. I
I'm-
feel like that for you too, Kelly. I feel like
Oh,
Kelly and I are like counterparts. She teaches
Oh,
English in
ma.
Brazil. I teach Portuguese here, and we're kind of have such similar interests and energy that it's been awesome working with her.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my daughter on here because I would love for her to see you, Rachel, because
Oh, well,
she was at Vassar during your father's tenure. I was an alum already, but very active in the whole, the Black student movement there. So I'm trying to get her to come on here.
oh, well, if she cannot, I'll give you my email and her email, and we can have a Zoom or just, get in touch afterwards.
Thank you.
No, and
Thank you.
Siriaka, let me tell you that I've been working with Rachel in different aspects when I was a president and then ATSP, and then later as a teacher, and before at that when I was just a member and all that. And Rachel is being loved here in Hawaii from all of us as well. When I asked Rachel for help with my students on the Sociedad Honoraria Hispanica, the first person she said, no, wait, I need to call Kelly. And since then, we have been working together and it's been amazing. I really, really love both of you. And Kelly just opens the door, opens her heart and say yes. And
Thank
help
you.
my students. It has been amazing.
And I have to say too, just as we're
you.
talking about this, that Rosa is an amazing woman. I mean, I've known her for several
Yes.
years now. And from the moment I met her, she is someone who just has so much energy, so many ideas, and puts it all, gives so much to all of us. And, she really does this from her heart to benefit everyone. And I think that the greatest thing you can do is take your interests, take your talents, and align them and use them in service of the common good in humanity. And I really feel that Rosa does that. And I think, we really need to thank you, Rosa, for all that you do with this PLC group and with your high school students and with the AATSP and with everything that you do.
This is true.
It is
Oh,
a pleasure. It is a
Taking
pleasure.
advantage of this energy.
Right.
Rosa, this is for you. This is for you, Rosa. Let's celebrate like a Quilombola woman.
Thank you. Thank you. Kelly, I will do everything possible to go there. This is something that we have studied, all of us in here as a teachers. It's our passion. It's our passion and it's what we have dedicated our lives. So what I'm doing right now with the Cafecito Culturales is to bring together all of us and share so many things that we have in there, and they should be exposed to the world as well. And so that's why I think this is one of the best connection I ever seen before, in between professors from all over, sharing experience, resources, you name it. So I really appreciate today's been very special, very, very special, because we are just few days away from celebrating all of us women that we are doing so much together. And Monday is the International Women Day. And I want to just congratulate everyone's today. And I'm sorry, guys, but it's our day, it's our moment out there. So we're gonna celebrate all of us in there. But what an amazing cafecito today.
Em pelo menos hoje, gravar essa oficina. Vocês se importam? O Evandro vai ficar discretinho ali. Nada do que a gente disser aqui, a gente vai botar em lugar nenhum, se a gente não decidir que vai botar, tá? Mas se vocês acharem que não, preferem que nessa parte não seja filmada, também a gente pode fazer sem filmar. E faz a outra da oficina deles.
Por mim pode me filmar toda aí.
Quem concorda que filme? Levanta a mão, só pra eu saber. Quem concorda que filme?
Por mim pode.
Pode? Tudo bem? Então pronto.
Já tá no mar. Quem é o próximo? Samuel.
Deus, logo eu. Já era pra eu ter ido. A maré secou, eu tava limpando a casa, quando eu olho a maré tá seca. Aqui no caminho tem um sapo sentado. Ai, ai. Os meninos que vinham aqui estavam pegando siri. Olha, nessa verdade ninguém paga não. E o pé? É a melhor de todas. E por isso que ele estava assim. O posto daqui fechou. Bater todo mundo pra fora.
Que é brincadeira.
Entendeu? E eles sabem que na hora que é pra eu tomar posição, eu sei tomar direitinho.
Essa liberdade de ir e vir, e ela dizia que ela não queria ser presa a ninguém, eu acho que aí tem uma vivência de um feminismo, apesar de não estar sendo teorizada.
Mas a vida da gente não foi boa, não. A vida da gente foi sofrida. E ainda não está bem. Espero que melhore mais. Mas a vida da gente não foi boa, não.
Uma vida muito dura.
Dura.
Né?
O meu esposo caiu doente, levou não sei quantos meses. Ficou internado, eu com barrigão. No dia de eu ter a menina, ele já estava em casa fraco, não aguentava. Eu fui para Maré umas 6 horas da tarde. Quando cheguei lá, fui arrancar o caranguejo para poder tirar, para dar o fio para comer com o maiorzinho atrás de mim. Aí a menina foi para nascer dentro da maré. Eu corri de dentro da maré até em casa. Quando cheguei em casa, nem a lama das pernas eu tirei. A menina nasceu. Foi, né? A minha vida foi muito sofrida. Pronto, Mara, você já sempre.
Amora alguém nessa vida? Cadê?
Aí é pouco de dendê, né? Por favor. Tá seguindo um pouquinho. Quantos anos, gente? Eu tava aqui falando.
Muito bonito aí, gostei.
Eu tava falando pra fazer, gente. Tica mais dele.
E você gostou por quê, tipo? O que você achou boa nessa foto?
Aquelas 2 pilastras com aquela casinha lá, aquele telhadinho, aquele pedacinho, aquele telhadinho aqui. E assim, parecendo assim que tirou um sítio, parecendo que é num sítio. Tá distante, agora cabe a gente achar o caminho para ir para casa. Só tá faltando ela, esse é o caminho.
Que é meio como se fosse
Como
até
tirou
pela
do lado.
pilastra, né?
É.
Gostaria, assim, cada uma diz uma palavra, que foi a manhã de hoje. Só uma palavra.
precisa mais nada, só uma palavra para a gente terminar.
Obrigado, Deus, por esse dia que o Senhor nos permitiu.
Gratidão,
Amor.
Paz.
Alegria.
A vaquinha também disse.
a vaquinha também falou. Renovo. Paz e ressuscitação. Se eu desse uma palavra, seria transformação.
A vaquinha disse que vocês estão certos.
Obrigada, nossa. Valeu. Vocês são demais. Obrigada. A vaquinha disse que a gente tá certa.
Was a good Portuguese immersion experience for all of you.
That was
But I
about
do
to
have
say.
one that we subtitled in English that I will share with Rosa, and maybe she can include it on the links.
No problem. There was a good lesson in there too. And for Siriwaka, maybe for you also to refresh what you're learning, right? Okay, see, we got a new today.
Because I also speak Spanish, I can understand some things, you know, it
Yeah.
comes
Awesome.
easier to
Their
me.
hard life. They were saying
Yeah.
something about their
Yeah.
hard life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to say that, and I don't want to take up too much time, but it reminds me, I'm a Garifuna from Honduras.
Oh,
And when I look at the pictures you just showed, it reminds me of many of, you know, the towns in the Garifuna towns in Honduras. So thank you again.
definitely.
Right. I just have one more question. I don't know, Kelly, how English teaching has been designed then for social justice and academic mobility in Brazil?
And Rosa, this is a good question because it is all related to what I have been saying. In Brazil, kids, students, teenagers, adults, they believe that they learn English to go to USA. How can I tell my students from the favelas that they are going to learn English to go to the USA? Because they say, teacher, I cannot afford a ticket to go to a village nearby my house. So I won't study English for that. Or people say, you can learn English to go to Disney World. How come? It's not, you know, how can I tell my students, yes, you will to visit and you're gonna see Disney? No, it's not true. So you're gonna learn English because first, because this is your right to learn it. Second, because you're able to. This is not only for the upper class. This is a kind of, we say in Portuguese, golpe. So you cannot believe in that. This is a way that the upper class convinced you to be working for them. Because if you don't learn, I'm not saying English, but any kind of foreign language, you're gonna be always depending on the upper class saying who you are and what you are able to. So this is social justice. You're gonna learn Spanish or English because you want to work in a multinational company, because you want to be at university, because you want to meet Renat, whatever. You want to make friends. So this is social justice. We have, I believe that if you tell your students from the favelas that they are able to, this is a way of teaching them through the social justice process. And we have just to break the idea of, no, you're gonna learn English because, no, my students are not going to be in Disney World so far. They have to understand that.
Well, powerful, powerful, because it is necessary that our our students, that who are the future in here, learn that they do have the right to learn a second language, that they who do have the right to go to a university, to become somebody for later to go back to their community and help, to keep helping, to grow from that, like we were saying, margins areas that you cannot. Who say you cannot? You learn who you are and believe in yourself and continue study, because it's always going to take you out of there, right? Well, I am so happy and so thankful for today, Cafecito Cultural. We have closed today with a good lesson, with goals in mind. Kelly and I already talked about, we're going to continue working with this. We're going to make connections with our students. Yeah. And we're going to keep going and spread the voice of the Quilombola community as well. Thank you so much today for being here. I'm sorry for being here today. I have the back custom to speak backwards. I switch my words, my English, hey? So then now let's take a good, nice picture in 1, 2, 3.